Howdy. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit. I know after harvest, a lot of mundane things start to happen. A lot of office work. I don't really get inspired to do videos when you're just sitting in the office and doing a lot of other kind of paper, boring type things. But I'll kind of catch you up on what I was doing during that time. We meet with a lot of seed guys, start making a lot of decisions for next year because a lot of people want to get things on the books as soon as they can just because of, well, you know how the supply chain is right now. So the faster you can get stuff in the books, usually the better the discounts and all that hoopla. Right now, we actually got some moisture scheduled for tomorrow. It might be snow, but at this point, we'll take whatever we can get because we are bone dry around these areas. So right now, we got a grain bin I'm coming up on. The lid is not on it, so I want to shut this lid just so moisture doesn't get into it because moisture in corn doesn't go well. Also, another thing is when it's cold, you get that moisture in there, it can freeze, and when it comes down, it can go over that trap and just cause all kinds of problems. So it's a good thing to try to get this thing figured out before, or shut up before, I should shut up, but get it closed up before, hopefully, we get some moisture. See, we don't have a shortage of tumbleweeds. I can never figure out why those old boys never made a bigger ladder. Oh yeah. Well, I'm coming up here. That's a grain bin monitor, or a full monitor. Kind of gives you a warning on how full your bin is. There's a little paddle in there that'll turn when that thing gets fuller. Here's a view of Sumner. Do a sniff test while I'm up here. Oh, we got it. Must have shrunk a little bit. Kind of an older lid. But now I'm going to take a ratchet. We got plenty of wire up here, but this will get it good and tight. We had one up here at one time. Kind of notice that little rust stain right there. This used to have a roof auger that went right up there that we took off. I think back in the old day, this was kind of the part of the elevator in Sumner. This was a dry bin. It ran an auger up here. It dried it in this bin. They had it's got a couple big fans. Then it dried it and put it in this, what used to be a huge bin. It's about a 45. It's kind of interesting, all the history on some of those things, but there used to be the original elevator was I think it was like 2x6 or 2x4s just stacked on top of each other, part of the original elevator. Because this is where the railroad used to run. And it used to have a scale house and everything. Like, all these towns used to have like elevators. It's kind of cool to see a lot of these towns kind of back in their heyday. Yep, here we go. Well, we got a little something. Not a lot. But at least I guess we can say it did something. Glass half full, right? I also got most of the bin project done. I think everything structurally is pretty much done. I just think the electricians need to come in and pretty much just hook everything up. We'll do a quick drive-by, but I'm not doing a tour now because it's kind of a fun day out there. But what it is we just added a third bin. Same size, there are 3 140s. We had to do a downspout to the drag. And yeah, everything else is pretty much the same on it. The only thing we're doing differently is we're not doing a return or a reclaim here. The idea is we want to be able to just load out at this bin, just so if we're dumping and stuff over here and filling, we could have another truck filling over here. Also, we don't have to run it back through the leg and double use the leg maybe. That's kind of our idea. You can always add another one on later. So we thought we'd do it this way first, and then if we wanted to reclaim it back to the leg, then we would. So this is the review I was doing today. For those of you new, we ran S770s on our 16-row heads this year. Now we ran 12-row heads normally with them. Last year it's just because we were 12-row planters, and the idea was we wanted to match up our heads to our planters, just so in our hills we didn't have guest row issues or anything like that. Plus just kind of maximize the combines a little bit more. The unique thing about that is a lot of operators don't put 16-row heads on S770s, and we'll chat about that here in a little bit, but let's head into the office. One of the perks about this time of year. So here's my machine. That was Tom's outside. He was cleaning his head off. We haven't done any of that yet, but we did set it inside. Small victories. So I could take this off. And so sorry, this is just kind of me talking outside. I'm not gonna go walk around acting like I'm doing something. We'll chat in here. So hopefully you don't mind us talking here. But getting back to the combine, this is kind of a review on the S770 that I actually said I would try to do. For those of you curious, and I'll try to describe this for everyone, whether you're beginning or advanced. Combines come in different sizes. There's class sizes. And right now the majority of the class sizes are 6, 7, 8, 9, and now there's 10. With the meat and potatoes of what people sell is probably in that 7 to class 8 range. We've been running class 7 combines for quite a while now. We've ran them on 12-row heads because we've been running 12-row planters, or even in the past we ran 24-row planters. And so the idea behind that is you're matching up with rows, because sometimes you get that guest row, the one in between each pass, and sometimes that can vary a little bit. Even with GPS on our side hills, you could always get that variation. So we've always preferred to match up with the row. Why we got the 16 rows is we moved to a 16-row corn planter just to become a little bit more efficient with planting, but that also kind of made us make that decision. We wanted to go to 16-row corn heads. Not because we thought we could just get a ton more corn picked, it just because it just worked better in our system, especially in the hills, and just kind of putt around, maybe go a little bit slower, hopefully maybe do even a little better job just because we don't have to go so fast. The carts can catch up with us quicker and things like that. So with that being said, we were really happy with the way that S770s wanted to handle in our situation. Now, I'm not saying a 770 can do what a 780 or class 8, 9, 10 combine can do, but for our situation, they worked really well. They handled them fine. We kind of lived in that 2.8 mile an hour range to 3.5, kind of being on that top end just because we didn't really need to go any faster. And sometimes I would try to push it just to see how fast it'd go, and it would go 4, and things like that, just depending on what corn you yield. Different hybrids will harvest differently and things like that. In our situation, it handled them well. Now, if you're somebody that's trying to maximize it, you got a lot of level ground, you want to go as fast as you can, you might want to probably look at the bigger combines. But for us, those worked really well. And then another thing that we really like about the 7s versus the 8 is there's an engine size jump. This is a 9-liter in those, and you go to that 13. Well, when we've demoed ones in the past, or we've had one break down and they brought out the bigger combines,
One of the biggest things we notice is a lot higher fuel consumption in the bigger machines. And so that's kind of another thing we thought of is, you know, if we're not trying to push that speed anyway, why not burn a little less fuel? And that's kind of where we land on. Now, there is a few setbacks. There's a few things a little bit smaller on the S770. The auger doesn't spin. I don't think the unload auger out of the grain tank spins as fast. It might be slightly lower, and it's not in a wet gear case, so it kind of makes that little wah-wah sound if you ever notice me talking about. Another thing is, one of the differences is the cleaning area isn't as big, but it's mainly because of that rethresher in the back. Now the rotors, and I believe the top and bottom chaffer and sieve are the same size area. It's how they get that extra cleaning advertised areas when they add that rethresher on the bigger machines. And another thing is, some people ask us about the weight of the 616. When we were looking at it, the 16 row head versus a 12 row folding wasn't that much heavier than a 12 row folding head, which a lot of people run on them as well. I know I'm throwing a lot of information out here, but this is just kind of what our thought process and things like that was to running a 16 row on a 770. And we asked, people what they thought. Now, a few other things. I think maybe the final drives, which is kind of the gears that turn your front wheels, are a little bit smaller, and then your back axle might be a hair smaller on the 770s. We kind of looked at some, and I think that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure. So maybe if those of you know, you could post it down below and let me know. No, we put 500 bushel grain tanks on them, so that helped out a lot. It just seemed to work really well for our situation this year, and we're kind of glad we did it, I guess. With that long spiel, hopefully you can wake up now. This will be kind of near the end of the chat, and we'll move on to the next thing.
Thanks for watching.
That's pretty impressive.